Welcome to my 2024 Fall Wilderness Canoe Trip Adventure. Join me and my son Cameron as we travel into the rugged wilds of the Tobeatic Wilderness Area in southwestern Nova Scotia. This trip, our planned journey, takes us from low landing on Lake Rossignol to Spectacle Lake and back. Experience the raw, unfiltered beauty of East Coast Canadian nature as we make our way through water and woods, see some wildlife, and endure and adapt to some trials along the way. This is what camping is all about. The weather on our trip had not been very cooperative. It had rained hard all night again. Our plans to try and dry out our wet gear from the previous days of traveling were cut short as an early evening rainstorm moved in quickly, dousing our fire and pushing us early into the tents. We woke on Thursday morning to a partly overcast sky, but the sun was breaking through, so that was a positive sign. I got up before Cameron and made my oatmeal for breakfast, enjoying the sights and sounds around me. The Sand Lake Road campsite is a pretty neat spot. It is nestled in the trees at the most northern part of the lake. The campfire area is a sheltered bowl down by the water, but you can always hear the rushing of the Shelburne River as it enters the lake, and there's always water views. Today would take us closer to the end of our trip. We were heading back down the lower part of the Shelburne River to the Kempton Falls campsite again. I really enjoy both the campsite on Sand Lake and the Kempton Falls campsite, so staying there another unexpected night was going to be a bit of a treat. Another good thing about the Kempton Falls site is that there was a strong cell signal there, so we would be able to get a message out saying where we were and that we were doing well despite the weather. We hadn't had any signal on this trip since leaving Kempton Falls our first night. Any rocks?
Yeah.
In front of us? Turn us. Yeah, there you go. It's okay. It's gonna be rocky here too. To the right?
Yeah, right there.
Okay. I can turn as hard to the left when you need me.
Yep, now.
Okay. Now that was something different than when we went up.
Oh,
We're not out of it yet though.
that's definitely a rock there.
Right?
I can't tell. I have no clue.
It's alright. You're doing good. You're doing real good. Now the tendency when you get down through one of those is relax and go, yeah, that was cool, and then crunch on one in the big still one. There's a whole bunch of ducks in it.
Look at the mess here. It's
Neat. Shelburne River. Nice work, Cameron.
Thanks. It's all part of the job.
I get paid for. Oh, that's pretty. With the sun coming out like that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a whole lot of blue above us, Cameron.
Oh yeah.
The sun makes such a difference. We had a lovely paddle down the spectacular Shelburne River. The water was noticeably higher, making the run stronger.
Amazing.
So be ready to react.
Not very good at that.
Sure you are.
Not really.
Sure you are. Be positive.
Positive is going to keep us off of the rock.
No. What do you see? Let's say we want to be.
All rocks though.
Well, if it's all rocks, then we just grind on them.
Yeah.
Not moving as fast as I thought we might. I'd say we want to be in... There we go. Yep, there we go. Nice, Cameron, nice. There we go. Nice. What do you see? Nothing?
No.
Now we bumped through, that's good. Nice work. This would be our end destination if we could have left where I wanted to leave from.
Yeah, this would have been the end of our trip.
Yep. But it's not. And if we get some sun, I'd be quite excited to stay outside for another day or two. Like we are going to. So excited or not. We're gonna have a signal too.
Yep.
Just like that.
What?
Just like that. The canoe is going to make my tummy growls echo. We were excited to get to the 1 kilometer Pollard's Falls carry. It meant that our travel day was getting shorter. We were looking forward to a relaxing night at the Kempton Falls campsite as we arrived late and were rushed on our first night in. As we traveled, the wind continued to get stronger, although we had been sheltered in the narrow river for most of our trip so far. The blustering wind was foreshadowing of what was to come. We made our way through the carry with little trouble, but Cameron did remark, "That seemed longer than I remembered." I made fun of him, of course. As the day wore on, the sun became more and more prominent in the sky, pushing off our continual threat of rain. There is always lots to see as you paddle in the Tobeatic, so we spent our time looking around and enjoying the moment. Called Shelburne Island?
Yeah. We're back at Sand Lake.
We've made a horrible mistake.
Yeah. We get to carry backwards.
We came to it, but then we carried it again in reverse.
Carried right
I thought when we were ending our 6th trip that maybe we had done something wrong. Reed grass. Color in the trees. You want to go left? Or right, rather?
Yeah.
Okay. The day had turned out spectacular with the sun beaming down on us, although the wind had picked up. We had made our way to the bottom of the Shelburne River to the run just before Kempton Falls. I saw another black bear, the second of my trip, just before I shot this footage. It is possible that it was even the same bear, as it was very similar in size to the one that we saw about a week before, and we were very close to where we saw the first one. He was on the other side of the river, peeking up over the rocks before hearing or smelling us and turning abruptly, heading off into the cover of the woods for safety from the scary humans. In this run before Kempton Falls, Cameron and I had a mishap on our last adventure into the area. Although we carried upriver around the run on our way in, we decided to paddle the run on the way down the river. We lost control in the fast-moving water and hit a large granite rock side-on, which tipped the gunwale of the canoe below the rushing water, filling it to the brim in about 2 seconds. We were in a bit of a mess, but we got to shore, unswamped, and dried out that afternoon at the nearby campsite. After getting camp set up at the Kempton Falls campsite and our supper rehydrating, I decided that I wanted to walk out over the rocky barrens to Lake Rossignol. The Shelburne River empties into Lake Rossignol, and we were actually quite close to the truck, despite still having a full day and a night left on our trip. I had walked out to the lake before from Kempton Falls, and it was an enjoyable experience. I took a few minutes to marvel at the rushing, falling water in the falls, and then I headed out over the rocky and swampy terrain to the lake. Lake Rossignol is the largest body of water in Nova Scotia, and there are places that the lake is so large that you can't see the other shore. Water meets horizon. In my experience, the perimeter of the lake is saturated with cranberries, which were ripe during the time of this trip. I decided I would pick a few and fill my pockets. So I made my way out across the barrens onto the rocky, pine-covered islands on the shore of the lake. The water was so low that there were land bridges to many islands along the shore that sometimes are surrounded by water and only accessible by canoe. After my hike out to the shore of the lake, I made my way back to the campsite. Cameron had gotten a fire going in the fire pit while I was gone, and I could see the campfire smoke gently rising up through the trees from a long distance away. Tonight we made backcountry turkey dinner for supper. It turned out amazing, and it was my favorite meal of the trip, and Cameron's second favorite, and that's quite something because he's not even a turkey fan. While we relaxed around the campfire and ate our supper, we sent text messages out to friends and family as to our well-being. Most loved ones enjoy hearing that you're still alive when on a wilderness adventure. I was talking to my buddy Aaron, and he gave us warning that the wind was supposed to greatly increase over the next 2 days, our last 2 days in the woods, but no rain. He told us to exercise caution and to be safe. He also told us that the northern lights could be visible after dark that night and to keep a lookout for them. I have never seen the northern lights before. While we were hanging our food bags in the tree for the night, Cameron noticed this weird glow in the sky. And there it was, in all its glory, the spectacular northern lights. We rushed down to the rocks in the water, climbed out, and stared upwards until our necks got cramped. What an amazing experience, the northern lights at Kempton Falls. Knowing that the wind was going to be an issue on Lake Rossignol, we tried to get going early in the morning to beat the wind. We were unsuccessful. Unknown to us, the forecast wind had been upgraded, and Aaron was frantically trying to get a hold of me, but my cell phone is always turned off when I'm in the woods. He sent this screenshot to me. Well, Rossignol is pretty choppy, let me tell you. This is a big lake. We got some fairly big wave action. So we're playing her safe and cautious and just kind of slowly going. Our first bay that we paddled after we kind of exit the little twisty turny that takes us into Kempton Falls and the Shelburne River. the wind actually came up while we were out on the bay, and we had some pretty serious side waves. Just kind of cresting into whitecaps, and man, it was a challenge getting across. It took us a lot of digging. So now we're kind of going out of our way into the many big bays on Rossignol, and kind of going as best we can across them, and using rocks and land to kind of break the waves, and then we turn and kind of use the waves to help push us out to where we need to be. So more paddling, but in the end we're probably going to use less energy. It's not going to take any longer because it's difficult to make any progress, especially with those big side waves. So anyway, we're just plugging away to our next campsite. The sun is peeking out and winking at us now, and we're just trying to make some progress. So here we are. We'll check in a little bit. And oh yeah, another thing we were talking about here is Rossignol. It's a very bleak looking lake. It just reminds me of, I don't know, desolate. Something out of a movie scene where there's desolate. Anyway, we're going to go through a little narrows here. We're getting a bit of wave action bobbing us around. We'll check back later.
We made our way bobbing along in the side waves. Fortunately, we were able to keep close to the shore and use the low water and the land to keep us out of the worst of the wind after we crossed the first bay that I mentioned. It took us quite a while to paddle up the lake, but after a couple of hours we were nearing our destination. The wind continued to get stronger and stronger as we paddled, and I knew that the opening to the Mersey River, where we were planning to camp for the night, was in a large bay. That meant we would have to turn headfirst into the wind after leaving the shelter of the shore. I was uncomfortable about entering a bay as large as some of the Tobeatic lakes that we paddle in these conditions, so I made a last-minute decision to paddle up a narrow channel on the inside of an island which, according to my GPS, would take me to the mouth of the Mersey River in the northwest corner of Lake Rossignol. Not according to my GPS. There was no water around this island, and there hadn't been for centuries from what we could tell. After fighting a fierce battle against the headwind up the narrow channel, we began grounding out on old logs and stumps. We decided to beach the canoe and get out and carry the island that wasn't an island to the mouth of the Mersey River. The walking was decent and the sun was shining. It was also very neat to traverse the land that we planned to paddle around. We felt like explorers as we trudged along, hoping for a clear path to the water on the other side.
Am I recording? Can you see?
Yeah.
Right. Whew. Tough with the wind catching the canoe. Cameron carried the first most open part, did a great job, but we didn't get too far and we had to switch because it's hard work battling the wind. We're out in the open. Good for walking as footing, but tough for carrying the canoe because the wind is strong today. Amazingly, we walked around what's supposed to be an island that hasn't had water around it for a century probably. Thank you GPS. Anyway, at the end of the island we come out and saw water, so we hung right with our packs to explore, and we're right across from the campsite. It's amazing, to be honest. We accidentally came out right across from the campsite. So that's what we're doing. We're carrying some land because of the wind, and we really didn't want to get out to the big bay, which was around this quote-unquote island, and get caught in the wind, so we're lugging around. So it's been pretty neat, really. And that's what we're doing, walking this kind of barren ground. Pack's already through, we're already back for the canoe, so once we get there we'll be right across from the campsite.
Despite the fact that we were walking and not paddling, we had a good time carrying to the Mersey. We could see the campsite from where we put our gear. When we arrived with our packs, there were white caps in the narrow river, so strong side waves that we needed to cross. But when we arrived with the canoe, there was a temporary reprieve with the wind, and we easily paddled across the river to the campsite. The Mersey River campsite is a short day downriver from the Eel Weir access point in Kejimkujik National Park. The river exits the park and empties into Lake Rossignol. I had stayed at this campsite before, but it had been over 10 years since my last visit. The campsite is unique due to its close proximity to the national park, and also due to the unique rock chairs that have been built around a large fire pit high on the bank over the river. On previous visits, I had good memories of sitting around the fire in those chairs, laughing and snacking on the last night of those trips. However, I had very little recollection of the actual campsite. Well, the campsite is fabulous and spectacular. It's large, sheltered, and comfortable, and there's a total of 3 fire pits. Due to the wind, we opted to not have a fire out where the rock chairs were, but in the most sheltered spot. We had a phone signal here as well, which is where I finally received Aaron's frantic texts to not head out on the water due to the wind forecast. Oops. We got camp set up, supper rehydrating, and I decided to do a video tour of the entire campsite area, which you're watching right now. We were excited for a great last night out camping, and this seemed like the ideal place to do it. Upon visiting the spot again, this site would be in my list of top camping spots in the general Tobeatic Wilderness area. Windy day in the woods. Here's our water filtration setup, in case you're interested. So we got a Sawyer squeeze, I guess it is. Sawyer squeeze that we've got rigged up as a gravity system. Works awesome. Dip some water, hang it in a tree, go about your chores, purify some water for you. Works good. Takes a bunch of the taste out too. Way better than my old pump filters that we used for, well, decades really. That's fairly new. It's my 3rd trip using this, only the 2nd trip using the gravity system. I tried some other gravity system using the Sawyer and it didn't work as good as this, so spent the money and got the stuff. She's windy. We settled in for a relaxing time of enjoyment on this, our last night of our October 2024 Tobeatic Wilderness Canoe trip. While we were kicking back and relaxing in the afternoon, I spotted movement on the shore of our island, which wasn't an island, across from us. A group of 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman, were walking around the island. I waved to them and tried to talk, but the wind made it very difficult. All I could get from them was they were okay, it was a nice day, and that it was too windy for paddling. To that, I could certainly agree. We made my backcountry goulash, which is pasta, hamburger, and tomato soup for supper, and for some strange reason, it didn't turn out very well. This is a pretty simple meal, and it's usually pretty consistent and tastes good, so that was disappointing. With supper finished, I sat out on the rock chairs and watched the sun set over the river. It has been tradition now for many trips to celebrate on our last night by baking a cake out on the trail. This trip was no exception. The warm, moist oatmeal raisin cake was delicious as usual, and a great way to celebrate another successful week-long trip in the Tobeatic.
Pretty good. That's real good.
Mine was good.
How's yours?
Really good.
We had a good night's rest after a nice fire, but we were anxious about the forecasted wind. The wind did die down overnight, but the wind warning was still in effect for Saturday as well. We were very close to the truck, about a half an hour's paddle, but we wanted to maximize any break from the wind that we could get. If the wind was in the same direction as the day before, it would be directly behind us, which has its own group of dangers. We planned to be on the water at first light. We loaded the canoe with our headlamps on, and then we started paddling at about 7:05 a.m. Wind is behind us. For this part.
Yeah. Well, it should be for the paddling part too. They're kind of behind us.
Should be, yeah.
For the lake.
Let's use that wind.
Like that?
Let's use that wind. Big rolling swells. Another hour would have made a big difference.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling you about strong tailwind yesterday.
Yeah.
Even as it is now, there's a couple of waves that hit us that turned us right sideways.
Yeah.
There's no problem to direct or anything, but
Yeah.
they're not whitecaps either. Maybe. Man, those are big there. This is supposed to be a leisurely trip. Uncle Jim. Fun times with you. That's a boat landing there to your left. See that level gravel? Wowzers, there's a couple big ones. Holy. Wowzers, those are big. Yeah. Heading right for the curl.
Civic with a kayak rack.
Could be. Civic. God's vehicle.
What?
God's vehicle. Some kings use chariots. Pretty sure God uses a Civic.
You know the joke about Jesus having the cord?
No.
No, I can't remember how it goes.
That's not much of a joke if you can't remember how it goes.
It's something about how you know. Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember how you work, but Jesus has the cord.
There's their beach, buddy. That's what those big rollers just roll us right up on. Whew, he's pitchy. Wowzers. Watch the rocks as best you can. Not much we can do. Try not to capsize. We're not far from shore, and there should be help. Dan's right there next to the vehicle.
Probably just rippling.
Alright, just braking. They're coming back too. Okay, just let her coast. Let her coast. That's alright. Whoa! I think we're at the ocean. What? I think we're at the ocean. Get out fast before the wind catches her and tips us. Walk through the water. Whatever you gotta do.
Alright,
Getting this whole spectacle on tape. A little more if you can. Oh, it's good. It's good. Woo! Step around the camera. Go go. Oop. We made it through tons and tons of rain and lots of wind. We're safe at the truck as long as it starts. See you later.